I live in a beautiful house with my beloved woman. From the terrace of our house, there is a stunning view of the canyon, surrounded by tropical greenery stretching to the horizon. We are in love with each other, and we have everything that any person on earth can dream of. We sit in wicker chairs, holding hands and enjoying moments that will never happen again. Everything that we are used to and have cherished all our lives will simply disappear in an instant and will never return. Everything that has been created on Earth since the creation of the world will return to the starting point from which life in the universe began. We found something that was hidden from people. But I'll start everything in order. The first time I saw her was 3 years ago, when she was giving an interview on a popular science channel. Then she talked about her love of cybernetics. She was great. I fell in love with her immediately and irrevocably. I liked everything about her. Her sweet appearance, her voice, her smile, the way she spoke, and everything she was into. Since then, I have lost my peace. All my thoughts have been occupied with her. At night, I lay and thought, why do I need everything that I know and can do if she's not around? Without her, my life lost all meaning and was wasted. I really wanted to meet this amazing girl, but who was I and who was she? She is the daughter of America's most influential construction magnate, and I am an ordinary young scientist, really promising, but all my hopes were limited to the walls of the university where I worked. It was then that I decided that I urgently needed to attract her attention with some sensational scientific discovery. It was necessary to make her want to meet me herself, and I immediately began to implement my plan. It took me 3 days to find a direction that could bring in the near future not just a scientific breakthrough, but also good financial prosperity, which was not an unimportant factor in my situation, and, as a result, I chose the most unusual, even fantastic direction, the cloning of inanimate matter. Yes, this is exactly the direction I chose for my work. My brain intuitively told me that this was exactly what I was looking for. This area has been little studied, if not to say that it has not been studied at all. Theoretically, everything was simple. Based on the latest scientific discoveries, you need to create a device that will scan any object at the atomic level and reproduce its exact copy. With the favorable development of this direction, I could rise to such an unattainable height that only the Creator himself could be above me. And the work began to boil. First, I took out a loan and opened a laboratory in an abandoned hangar. Then I advertised for the recruitment of specialists involved in the latest developments in the field of molecular biology, quantum mechanics, and cloning. After personal conversations and careful selection, I rallied 9 like-minded people around me. Everything had to be done in strict secrecy to prevent leakage of information about the work of our laboratory. Each of the team members was engaged in a strictly designated area of work. A year later, 4 people left our project. They were disappointed in our experiment without getting a quick result. A year later, we were able to create a device. He was no bigger than a pack of cigarettes. But what he was hiding inside himself was the epitome of all the latest developments of mankind. According to our calculations, the device should have completely scanned any object at the atomic level in a minute and created an exact copy of it, that is, to create a material object out of almost nothing. But our miracle device stubbornly refused to create something. As a result, 2 more people left the project and there were 3 of us left. Klaus, Andre, and yours truly, Boris. Klaus is a very purposeful young man, a candidate of biological sciences whose goal in life was to receive the Nobel Prize and also not to upset his mother. To do this, he went home during his lunch break, where he absorbed his mother's culinary delights, which brought her great joy. Andre is a cheerful young scientist in the field of quantum mechanics who constantly did not have enough time for all his girlfriends. So he easily made acquaintances with girls and also easily broke up with them. And finally, I am Boris Brown, an atomic physicist who is fond of cybernetics, obsessed with his invention and hopelessly in love with the princess of his dreams. Anna Neumann, that was the name of my beloved. Time passed, but we were stuck in one place. There was not enough money, and in order to patch up the gap in the budget, we had to suspend our experiment and devote a whole month to several commercial projects. The most successful project for us was the creation of a musical microchip. This microchip was a thin, round sticker. It was attached exactly in the middle of the forehead and resembled a dot on the forehead of Indian women. It was enough to think about some piece of music, as the chip immediately began to reproduce it in your head, and the volume could be adjusted mentally. Only your brain heard this melody without causing inconvenience to others. The chip didn't need any recharging. It was powered by your body heat. In addition, each owner of the chip could mentally change its color to any color depending on their preference. The red color usually made it clear that the owner of the chip was not in the mood for communication, but green, respectively, on the contrary. It became a hit of sales. The whole world was engulfed by chip fever. From young to old, everyone wore our colorful dots. In general, the project became more than successful and brought us huge profits, which allowed us to forget about financial difficulties. But this was not the discovery that haunted our minds. Having a strong financial foundation gave us the opportunity to start working on the main project slowly. We could afford to make mistakes and correct them while not trembling over every dollar spent in vain. In addition, for the first time in 2 years, we have an unheard-of luxury in the form of free time. And each of us enjoyed the opportunity to get rid of the order of the tired company of 3 feral neurotics and finally give in to forgotten pleasures. Klaus enjoyed talking to his beloved mum. Andrei finally had the opportunity to visit his bored girlfriends and make a couple of new ones. I could finally devote my free time to thinking about my princess of dreams. Every evening, I typed my beloved's name into the search engine and watched her movements, studied her range of interests and places where she liked to appear. True, I wasn't famous yet, but now my income allowed me to quietly attend those parties where I could approach my beloved and just get to know her. But all this, as it seemed to me, was very banal. For a girl like Anna Neumann, I wanted to do something unusual that could capture her imagination. On one of these evenings, I saw a story where Anna Neumann got into a car after another bohemian party, and she had our musical microchip on her forehead. Then I smiled, and the thought came to me. What if I tried to influence her mind with this chip, because our technical capabilities were more than enough for this? It was possible to simply broadcast a happiness signal, which acts on certain neurons of the brain responsible for positive emotions in humans. Turn it on when her geolocation is closest to me, and turn it off when she is moving away from me. And so, gradually, she will be attracted more and more to my location. And eventually, the day will come when she will finally understand who was the object of her lust, and throw herself into my arms, and we will never part again. I often imagined the moment of our meeting, and then it seemed to me that this plan was just perfect. But then, when the dreams left me, it became clear to me that it was too simple. Besides, Anna could be offended by such a primitive and crude manipulation of her feelings and consciousness. It was necessary to come up with something similar to a game, elegant and light, like Anna Neumann herself. I began to develop a dating plan based on Anna's preferences. I knew that she loved cybernetics and everything related to this field. Once a week, on Thursdays, she visited a store called Cyber Junk. Electronic toys were sold there which bored their owners. Anna, as an avid cyberneticist, bought the trinkets she liked, then breathed new life into them and put them on display on her blog. It was her hobby. And then I remembered about my robot dog, which my parents gave me as a child. I grew up a long time ago, but I couldn't bring myself to throw it in the landfill, so it was gathering dust in the pantry. Well, it's time for her to work for her master. I decided to improve it a little, and after 5 days, or rather nights, a cybernetic universe appeared in my dog's small head, the key to which was in my hands. It was enough to set any task to my faithful dog, as in just a fraction of a second, he found the most acceptable option to solve it. I was wondering how my dog would cope with the task of introducing me to Anna Neumann. Most likely, he will gain Anna's trust, take her out for a walk, and by hook or by crook, arrange a random meeting for us in some backwater bar. Then, most likely, he will lie down at my feet and will not respond to any commands from Anna. And then I'll just go up to her and kiss her and not let her go anywhere else. It made me laugh when I imagined my dog arguing with Anna about choosing a route for a walk, and I was also amused by the disobedience of the hostess when we met at the bar. Anyway, it would be funny, and Anna should have appreciated my cute cybernetic trick. On Wednesday, just before the store closed, I took my dog to Cyber Junk, paid the owner to put it in front of the front door, and went home in anticipation of a pleasant wait. The whole night was ahead. I got comfortable in front of the monitor and decided to indulge in my favorite activity, which I had been deprived of for 5 nights, typed the name of my beloved in the search engine and like a bolt from the blue, all the first news feeds were full of photos of her in a wedding dress on the arm of a tall young man in a tailcoat. I was shocked, and most of all, I blamed myself for not being able to foresee such a turn of events. However, what did I want? Because she didn't even know about my existence. Well, that would be an extra incentive for her to find out about me after all. I decided to go into work with my head to complete the task that had taken 2 years of my life, and it completely slipped my mind that my faithful dog remained at his combat post among the trash, waiting for Anna. Exactly a month later, on one of the cloudy days, which did not bode well, a miracle happened. We were able to clone a chair, and a very ordinary chair. Our device was activated in Klaus's hand. It was all like in a dream. We were able to get a material object out of nothing, almost out of thin air, an exact replica of the chair that stood in our laboratory. Now there were 2 identical chairs in our laboratory. I will not say that we did not prepare for such a development of events, but what happened first put us in a complete stupor, and then into indescribable delight. Our joy knew no bounds. That day we celebrated our success very violently, and only deep after midnight, Klaus went to his house, and Andre and I were exhausted in the relaxation room. When we had the money, we immediately separated a nook in our hangar and set up a room next to the laboratory in which we could take a sip of whiskey and relax in luxurious armchairs or on a spacious sofa. The next day, we gathered in the laboratory to repeat our success. But everything was in vain. All our attempts did not bring any result. The fact that we were able to clone a chair was the greatest achievement, but every day after this event instilled in us uncertainty with elements of insanity. It began to seem to us that there had been no cloning, that one of our former friends had made an evil joke on us and had thrown this unfortunate chair at us, or that we, obsessed with our dreams, had simply gone crazy and made it all up. But we had irrefutable evidence. This is the recording from the surveillance camera in the laboratory. And on the recording from this camera, it was clearly visible that a complete double of our office chair appeared out of nowhere in an empty corner. For a whole month, we studied the record thoroughly and repeated everything that was recorded there. At first, we dressed in the same clothes that we were wearing during the successful experiment. Then, we repeated the experiment exactly in that time interval, observing the timing recorded by the camera for every second. We also chose a day with similar weather. Then we remembered that a car horn was heard on the street, and maybe the sound waves somehow interfered with the result of the experiment. Several times we asked Andre to honk at the windows of the laboratory, but all in vain. The last thing left for us was to study the flight routes of migratory birds and make them fly over our laboratory again. Of course it was a joke, but it didn't make it any easier for us. Our new ideal chair was still standing next to its older brother, like a mute reproach, and we still could not understand the reason for our luck and failure. Now it was called gathering at a round table, although the table we were sitting at was not round at all. It was in this room that we spent the last month trying to understand the reason for the metamorphosis that happened to us. On that memorable evening, we also sat at our round table, sipped whiskey, and were immersed in our thoughts. I need a vacation. I can't just think about that unfortunate chair all the time. Andre broke the silence. Mum said that this scientific work of mine takes up all my personal time, and I began to pay less attention to it. Klaus began to sing his usual song. A few more days and I'll forget what Sandra looks like, Andre continued. Wait, wasn't it Natalie a week ago? I chuckled. I'm going to lose all my girlfriends with your work. Andre went away dissatisfied. Speaking of girlfriends, Mum said she found me a decent match, Klaus said thoughtfully. Oh, it's already interesting. Can we really see you with a girl and not with your mother? She'll probably be a copy of your mom. Andre grinned. I realized what our mistake was, I said, interrupting my mother's topic. The guys looked at me, a mute question in their eyes. Our mistake is that we restored everything that happened in the laboratory every second. but we need to restore everything that happened before we came to the laboratory. We killed a month to restore everything to the smallest nuances, everything that happened at that moment, and you propose to restore the whole day." Andre was indignant. "Well, not all of it, but only half a day, starting from the moment we woke up and before the experiment began. What does the way you woke up have to do with our experiment?" "Everything matters. We have been trying for 2 years to activate our device, and it turned out that day, so there was something that did not happen in previous days. That's exactly what we need to find out." "And how do you imagine it?" "We will reconstruct that day every second until we find what we are looking for." "I don't remember what I did in the morning. It's been so long," Andre protested again. "You have the simplest task. You, as always, lay in bed until lunch." Klaus smiled. "And yet, Andre, remember what was unusual that morning? How it differed from other such mornings over the past 6 months?" I interrupted Klaus. "Nothing. I also, as always, forced myself to get out from under the covers. Oh yes, this morning I did not make myself scrambled eggs and bacon, because Nellie asked for a sandwich with green salad. Perhaps this is the difference from other days. Well, will this really help solve our problem?" "Oh, you said you don't remember anything." "Oh, Nellie, it's just impossible to forget," Andre said, sighing. "No, we need something more interesting," I continued. "I didn't wash my hands that day," Klaus said thoughtfully. "And what do you mean that the discovery of a universal scale was made by dirty hands?" Andre quipped. No, wait, Andre, Klaus, go on." Trying to catch at least some thread, I became interested. "It so happened that my mother asked me to peel the potatoes before going to the laboratory, although I was in a hurry. But I peeled the potatoes, put them in the sink and wanted to wash my hands. But for some reason, there was no water that day, so I just wiped my hands with a napkin and ran to the laboratory." "What kind of nonsense are we listening to?" Andre was indignant. "This is not nonsense, Andre. Urgently run to the nearest vegetable store and buy 2, preferably 3 potatoes." "No, are you serious?" "Yes, seriously. We will try all possible and impossible options. Then we will do this until we are old. We will listen to countless stories from Klaus about him and his mother. Maybe it's better to release a collection of comics about Klaus and his mother. It will be more useful. Still, please go and buy some potatoes," I said urgently. Half an hour later, Klaus was peeling potatoes with a penknife, which Andre kindly provided him with. He rubbed the peeled potato on his palms, as is usually done with a bar of soap. "Well, okay, that's enough. Take the device." I couldn't stand it. As soon as Klaus put his hand to the device, it began to show activity in the same way as last time. Klaus took the device, first directed it to our favorite chair, and the device scanned the object. Then Klaus pointed the device at an empty spot against the wall and jumped in surprise. A chair appeared in this place, exactly the same as the 2 that were already in the room. He had no time to recover from the shock when he heard our frantic scream. Yes, we did it." Andre and I shouted and jumped like crazy at the same time. There was a new 3rd chair by the wall. We ran up to Klaus, hugged him, and started jumping together like children. "What was that?" Klaus shouted hysterically. "How did this happen?" I yelled back. "Most discoveries happen that way, completely by accident." "Is it really that simple? This can't be happening." "Oh, come on, give me the device. I want to check something." I took the device, concentrated, and closed my eyes. The potatoes were not even needed. The whole device was covered in starch and glowed. A moment later, a new device appeared in my other hand, an exact copy of our invention. "Do we have 2 devices now?" Klaus was surprised. "Isn't it more delicate work than a chair?" Andre sobered Klaus up. "Our experiment exceeded all our expectations. That is, we lacked some kind of organic compound for synthesis, in this case ordinary starch. On the one hand, everything ingenious was simple, but on the other, it was fantastic." Now it's my turn. Andre grabbed a potato, applied it to a new device, and a moment later another exactly the same phone appeared on the table next to my phone. "The new device is working," Andre shouted. "Hey, that's too much." "It's my phone," I protested. "Now it's mine. I wonder if his memory is the same as yours." "Check it out," I grinned. Yes, see all the numbers, contacts, and photos. It is completely identical. It can't be, you're kidding, I said incredulously. No, I'm not joking. Do you want me to call you from your phone? My joy turned to bewilderment. It's not getting any easier from hour to hour. Do you have any idea what we've just done? I asked my dumbfounded friends. Of course, I imagined cloning matter, but I did not imagine that we could go so far, Klaus continued my thought. I wonder if you have anything besides Anna Neumann. Looking at the photo on my phone, Andre grinned. So give me my phone. At least you can imagine that today, in an instant, we have destroyed everything that the world has been based on for the last millennia. We can create matter out of nothing. We have accelerated the passage of time as we create something that could take years in a second. We have jeopardized the safety of the information resources of all states and the entire society, since we can clone any computer along with its contents and data, and yet we have just devalued money. Well, how do you like our invention? Everyone was stunned and couldn't figure out what to do now. So we are urgently going to the round table. We need to discuss our discovery and all the dangers associated with it. What are the dangers? Klaus asked warily. Come on, let's go. I'll tell you everything now. Patting Klaus on the shoulder, I went to the relaxation room. That's how, at one point, we became gods who, in the image and likeness, almost out of nothing, began to create matter. It was very cozy in our relaxation room. There was a huge sofa in one corner. In another corner, there was a huge two-door refrigerator filled with beer and all kinds of snacks. In the middle of the room, there was an impressive table filled with bottles, mostly with strong drinks, on the edges of which were placed 4 spacious, upholstered chairs. I poured myself a whiskey and made myself comfortable in one of the chairs. The guys followed my example, and I continued the conversation I had started in the laboratory. What would you do if you had unlimited power over everything, and then suddenly 3 loafers appear who can deprive you of this power? 3 simple unknown engineers have crossed out everything that you have worked so hard to create all your life. They deprived you of your former power over other people, and all just because they have a magic wand that can fulfill all their desires. What would you do with them then? Yes, no, well, no, are you serious? Klaus rolled his eyes. More than serious. I think they would have been caught, broken into atoms, and their ashes scattered somewhere over Nevada. Klaus continued thoughtfully. This is very harsh, but somewhere not far from the truth. I supported Klaus, at the same time surprised by his rigidity and composure with which he uttered it. Or maybe they would have been offered cooperation, taken over their technology, and settled on some island where they would live the rest of their lives. Otherwise, suddenly the device would break. Who would fix it? Trying to mitigate the situation a little, Andre completed the logical chain. So, in 2 words, they would have been taken hostage. In both cases, an unenviable fate awaits these unfortunate inventors, I concluded. And what do you suggest? I suggest we stay together, calm down, and work out a further algorithm of our actions. None of us will fall asleep today anyway, and together we can make the right decision. Who for? Well, I don't even know. I wanted to please Mum so much. Klaus began his song. You can't tell anyone about this, I said in a steely voice. Not even Mum. Andre, playing along with Klaus, expressed his bewilderment. Andre, don't be silly. Understand. We are putting ourselves and our relatives in great danger. Maybe we'd better think about how we can protect ourselves, Andre said calmly. Aren't we going to publicly announce our discovery? Klaus persisted. No publicity until we figure out how to protect ourselves. We need to make a 3rd device so that everyone has a device and go in different directions because we have already achieved what we wanted. Now each of us has the right to do as he wants, Klaus suggested. You are absolutely right, but not just one device, but hundreds or better thousands of devices. Now we have all the resources for this. When these devices are distributed free of charge to everyone, then we will cease to be of interest to anyone and thereby protect ourselves. If one device can be cloned in a minute, then the 3 of us can make 180 devices in an hour. Can you imagine how many devices we will have in a month? A month? No, it's a very long time. Maybe a week will be enough for us. Andre began to bargain. Wait, if everyone can clone the same device, then our exclusive right to these devices will disappear, Klaus objected. Sooner or later, it's going to happen anyway. Our invention will not be hidden from people forever, and it will be much better if the device does not fall into the hands of any one crook, but will be available to everyone and completely free of charge. I don't want to just share our discovery with everyone, Klaus continued to be indignant. How can you not understand that when the devices are available to everyone, then interest in our personalities will immediately disappear, and no one will remember us at all after that? That is, no one will know about us, and we will not be famous, Klaus persisted. I didn't say that. I repeat once again, before you become famous and open your invention to the world, you need to protect yourself. I repeated and continued. At the same time as our grandiose press conference, we need to arrange the distribution of our wonderful devices. Even a few thousand devices will be enough to protect yourself. Klaus and Andre were sitting with thoughtful faces, which made it clear that they were not happy with my offer. I understand that until today we had one goal, and now that we have achieved it, everyone has their own plans for the near future. Maybe it makes sense to voice the wishes of each of us. Let's start with you, Klaus. I decided to take the initiative. Why should I? Klaus was surprised. Because your fate is of the greatest concern to us. You already know my wish. Wait, let me guess. Andre thought for a minute. To please Mom? Imagine that, and there's nothing to grin at, Klaus said, offended. And what will you be able to please her with? I'll tell her that we've finished working on our invention and now I can always be with her. Great, but why did you work on this invention? After all, you could always be with your mother anyway. Andre couldn't resist. One day when my mother and I were vacationing by the ocean, I saw a beautiful house and decided that we would definitely live in the same house with an ocean view. I can't understand it. Who prevented you from building such a house? Time. It may take more than 1 year, and my mother is no longer young, but now I can fulfill my dream in an instant. So you want to clone a house with an ocean view for Mom? Well, yes. What's not clear here? Yes, no, it's clear. Is that all you need? Well, Mum also really wanted to be proud of me. She wanted me to become a world-renowned scientist. So how do you imagine it? It's very simple. We need to organize a press conference with all the world's media and inform them about our invention, and then we will all become world-renowned scientists. Is that all now? No more wishes? That's it now. Okay, well, what do you dream about, Andre? Oh, I want to be a hidden rich man. How is that? Well, just to be rich, but without anyone knowing about it. To live the life of ordinary people while not working anywhere, but only traveling the world. And then to meet a girl who will love me not for my wealth, but simply for what I am. You have all this already. Klaus was surprised. All the girls you date think that you are a poor scientist. Yes, but when I met them, I always said that I was very rich. And now I can safely say that I am an ordinary poor scientist, without fear of losing a girl who will not like it. So, if you take away all the husk that you said, your goal is 2 points. To be rich and at the same time happy with the girl who loves you poor. Don't you think that these are mutually exclusive things? I concluded. That's exactly why I want to hide my wealth. Yes, but when she finds out, and sooner or later she finds out that you cheated on her, she won't be able to treat you the same as before. And your whole plan will fail because you can't build happiness on deception, I persisted. And what should I do? Andre was upset. To be rich and happy with someone who loves not your money, and you with the money. Do you catch the difference? Thanks for the clarification. I'll even take notes on it, Andre quipped. Well, what about you, Boris? Klaus perked up. You know perfectly well what I want. We can guess, of course, but maybe your infatuation has already cooled down, Andre grinned. No, I haven't cooled down. I still only need Anna Neumann. This is already a diagnosis, but now that you become so famous, she will want to meet you herself, Andre continued. You see, I know almost everything about her, and I think she will never take the initiative first. And how are you going to show your initiative? Andre persisted. That's exactly what I'm trying to come up with. Arrange a meeting with her father, show him the cloning trick, and after that he himself will want to introduce you to his daughter. Klaus decided to be smart. Well, what kind of trick will it be? I asked. Go all in and show her father what no one in the world has ever done before. Make in a minute the house in which he lives. The house in which he put his whole soul and all his dreams. When he sees this, he will become your slave. He will be stunned, if not crushed. All the things that took him his whole life, you were able to repeat in 60 seconds, Klaus elaborated. Ha, this will be the last trick in Boris's life, Andrei grinned. It's not about that now. We have all expressed our preferences, now it remains to determine our further actions. What are you suggesting? Andrei asked with a grin as always. We have two options. First, we live our normal lives and use our opportunities as needed. Secondly, we make our invention accessible to everyone and all rich people cease to be such. Because absolutely anyone will be able to afford any luxury items, while not spending any money on it, I summed up. So, as I understand you, we have a choice. Either we are the only ones who live without denying ourselves anything, or the whole of humanity will use our discovery. And what answer do you expect to hear? Andrei continued, still grinning. Let's start by living without denying ourselves anything. Klaus intervened in the conversation. And in general, I already have to go home. What? I wanted to go to my mom, Andrei quipped. Let him go. He won't let us rest with his whining anyway. Yes, Klaus, and don't forget that not a word to Mum. Andrei reminded him. Of course, of course. Well then, see you tomorrow. With these words, Klaus took his backpack and quickly rushed to the exit so that we would not return it back. After the door slammed behind Klaus, we decided not to waste time and started manufacturing a micro-starch dispenser so that the device could be activated at any time. When the dispenser was ready, we stated one sad fact. Klaus took one device with him. Well, he's a sly one, I grinned. Maybe he wanted to spend the night cuddling with the device, Andrei joked. I think that Klaus will have a sleepless night tonight. For sure he will surprise Mummy with magic tricks. Maybe we should go and get the device, Andrei suggested. If it brings him any joy, then let him indulge, I stood up for Klaus. All night long, we discussed the possible consequences of our discovery. As a result, we agreed that it would not be superfluous to integrate into the device a chip capable of completely blocking it on command from a conventional push-button phone. As a result of our night experiments, by dawn the chip was ready and successfully integrated into the device. With a feeling of great satisfaction from the work we had done, we were pretty pumped up with whiskey. Our mood improved with every sip we drank, and by dawn we decided to go out into the fresh air to unwind. Andrei took the device with him. We need to try to clone something substantial, for example, a car. Seeing my surprised look, Andrei explained. It was fresh outside. The first rays of the sun crept over the roofs of the houses, and we were happy and stupidly looked around at everything that surrounded us and could not believe that now it all belongs to us. After standing like that for about 5 minutes, we simultaneously neighed and began to choose the right car. Here, this one will do, Andrei said, and pointed his finger at an old worn retro Mustang that was used as a flower bed near the beer bar. Yes, 2 beds of violets for the pub, that's too much. We laughed again and continued our search. The feeling of absolute freedom that enveloped us was a kind of new feeling, as if we had become free from everything that had previously prevented us from finding this feeling. We enjoyed this state and continued to fool around. No, this one is better. Continuing to joke, Andrei pointed towards the intersection and we both burst out laughing. There was a police car at the intersection. It's worth doing just to see their stunned faces, I managed to choke out a laugh. No, it's too early for us to chill out at the station. Let's do something simpler, Andrei suggested after catching his breath. Okay, let's take a little more walk, I suggested. Turning the corner, we found ourselves in a park, and without saying a word, we stopped dead in front of us. On a small pedestal was a monument to the founder of the city. Andrei and I looked at each other and nodded affirmatively to each other. Andrei activated the device, and a minute later the 2 founders of the city stood opposite each other. Well, let's assume that we were present at the opening of the first monument dedicated to our invention. At that moment, Andrei's phone rang. Andrei listened to a woman's voice for a long time, and his face took on a serious look. "Everything is clear. Thank you for calling us," said Andre, sat down on the curb and closed his eyes. "Who was that calling?" I couldn't stand it. Klaus's mum called and said that her sweet and beloved Klaus was very ill. "What happened?" I asked, and an unpleasant chill ran down my spine. At night, he took her to the ocean shore, showed her a house with a beautiful view of the ocean, and said that he wanted to surprise her. Then he took out some kind of box, held it at arm's length for 5 minutes, but he felt sick and lost consciousness. He is currently in the central hospital in critical condition. "Oh, Klaus, poor Klaus, I couldn't help myself. What'll we do?" "I don't think we need to go to him. He's not much use right now anyway, and he won't tell us anything. I have a good friend in this hospital. I'll call him and ask him to keep us informed." "And what about the device?" "His mum has the device," Andre grunted, getting up from the curb with an effort. "This is good anyway. No one, even in the most delusional dream, will be able to guess what it is. Then we will take it away if necessary," I reassured, not knowing whom. Without speaking, we turned around and walked unsteadily back to the laboratory. "Oh, we warned him not to do anything stupid." Andre didn't calm down. "Wait, you and I almost did something stupid ourselves. Maybe Klaus saved us. If it hadn't been for his mum's call, we could have been in his place. Maybe we should bow to him all our lives now." Andre sneered and made a theatrical bow. "No, it's just that now we can draw some conclusions from Klaus's mistake." "Well, surprise me. Which ones?" Andre chuckled. We finally got to our room with a round table. First of all, not everything is as simple as we thought. Secondly, the plan to conquer the world is postponed and requires serious adjustments, I concluded, pouring whiskey into glasses. "What are you going to do?" "Relieve a little stress and think about everything calmly. It seems to me that we should not waste a single minute. We need to act urgently. My hands are itching with impatience. I want to find out the limit of our capabilities right now. The active spirit in Andre has awakened." "In what way?" "I suggest starting cloning devices right now before the first signs of fatigue appear. This will help us understand how long we will last and how long it will take to implement our plans." "Well, start a little bit, and I'll see if I need to call an ambulance." I agreed with his suggestion without much enthusiasm. "Oh, don't you want to keep me company?" "Okay, but we'll clone one device at a time, you and me alone. As soon as someone feels bad, we stop immediately." "Okay." Andre was delighted and grabbed the device. He started first, and the two of us managed to make 30 new devices each. On the 31st, I got a little dizzy. Andre at first laughed at me and made fun of me, but on the 40th device, he turned pale sharply and staggered towards the chair. "That's it, Basta. Enough experiments." Andre completed his active impulse. "A little more, and we'll be Klaus's roommates." I tried to diffuse the situation. Exhausted, we got into chairs and decided to take stock. So it took us an hour to figure out that it was better to stop. Now we need to mark the time that we need to fully recover. After sitting in the chairs for about an hour, we began to feel much better, tried to continue cloning the devices, but after 20 cloning, fatigue returned again. It is impossible not to take into account the fact that we have not closed our eyes since yesterday. Andre tried to justify himself, yawning. "Even if we got enough sleep, it would not solve the problem. Our energy is being spent, and it needs to be restored." I tried to reason, wrapping myself in a blanket. "I don't mind getting some sleep," Andre said dreamily, stretching in a cozy armchair. This was the last thing that reached my dulled consciousness, and as if on command, we fell into a deep sleep. The phone call woke us up. Andre listened to what was being said, and he looked at me. I could tell by the look in his eyes that the news didn't bode well. He turned off his phone and lit a cigarette. "Klaus is very ill. He asks to hold a conference. His mother says it's his last wish." We were standing by Klaus's hospital bed. He was conscious, but it hurt to look at him. He was all haggard, and it seemed that his eyes had become somehow extinguished. Yes, cloning at home with such portable devices should be delayed. It is necessary either to increase the power of the device or to involve several people, trying to defuse a difficult situation, I began. Klaus looked at me and smiled bitterly and said, "Now without me." "No, my friend, that won't do. You still have to help us clone Anna Neumann's father's house, otherwise I'm afraid it will become an unbearable burden for Andre and me, I continued, forcing a smile. I want you to organize a press conference, and I want to speak at it. That's all I need, our poor Klaus squeezed out. Klaus, no offense, but you're not in the best shape right now to shine in front of beauties, Andre smiled. Stop teasing me, I don't care. I'm ready to shine in a wheelchair. This is my last wish. Tell me honestly, do you feel very bad, or is this some kind of trick? I couldn't help myself. I already said that this is my last wish. Isn't that enough to understand that I feel very bad? Klaus almost groaned and turned away, staring silently out the window. I see. We will arrange a press conference for you soon. Come on, Boris. Andre finished the conversation. When we left the room, Andre took me aside and said through his teeth, Well, what are we going to do now? You said yourself that we would hold a press conference. Are you out of your mind? To follow the lead of a sick person, let him come to his senses, then we'll talk. So you think he's blackmailing us with his illness? Time will tell, but on the other hand, if Klaus wants fame, he will get it. It's even in our favor. What do you mean? I asked warily. Let him take all the laurels for himself, and we'll step aside and see what happens. The less people know about us, the more room we have for maneuver. Tell me straight out, what are you up to? Judge for yourself if the authorities do not like, or on the contrary, like our invention, and after the conference they want to arrest us. Then it would be better for one of us to remain in the shadows. This will give us a chance to escape in the worst-case scenario. And that someone has to be me? You are very smart, especially since your motivation has devalued. After all, Anna is married, and now you don't need public recognition and fame. Well, what are you going to do? I couldn't help myself. Without our help, Klaus will not be able to hold the conference, so I will play the role of an assistant, the great scientist Klaus Kowalski. By the way, maybe this will help me find someone who will love not a great inventor, but a simple assistant. In general, something like that. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'll go home. I need to have a good rest and think about the algorithm of our further actions. With these words, Andre shook my hand firmly and was about to leave, but I held him back and looked into his eyes without letting go. Andre, do you even realize that because of our discovery, the whole world will collapse? Not only do I understand this, I'm looking forward to this moment. I fell into bed and fell into a deep, deep sleep. I lay like a dead man all day and all the next night. I dreamed of Anna Neumann. She was sitting with Klaus at the wedding table. She looked at him with admiring eyes, while Klaus collected potato chips from all the plates, stuffed them into the dispenser of the device, and did magic tricks at the request of the guests. Then they found themselves with Anna on the deck of a huge ship, an exact replica of her father's yacht, and Klaus took out a box with an engagement ring from his breast pocket, an exact replica of the wedding ring of Queen Elizabeth II of England. And going up to Anna was going to propose to her. But then the yacht tilted violently and Klaus, losing his balance, fell overboard. I didn't find out what happened next. The dream was interrupted by an early doorbell. Andre was standing on the threshold. Always clean-shaven and fresh, Andre was wearing a rumpled shirt and had a day's stubble. How did you sleep? He began without any greetings. It's better not to ask. It's good that you woke me up. No thanks, I have a lot to do. But first I wanted to talk to you in person. I didn't notice such attention from you before. You could have just called me. This is not a phone conversation. I've thought it over. The conference will be held in the coolest conference hall, and the live broadcast will be on 2 central channels. I think a week will be enough for me to prepare. I will tell you the exact time. Klaus will be taken there directly from the hospital. In any case, you have very little time left to do all your business and disappear from the city. I listened attentively to Andre, and he, without waiting for any questions from me, continued. I hope that it will not come to our arrest, but if it does happen, you will be able to make all our calculations and drawings publicly available. That will be enough. If that's not enough, then activate the chips to lock the devices. Why can't you put all our calculations in the public domain now? I was surprised. And maybe I'm wrong and they won't arrest us. It's just that if everything goes well, we can still earn extra money on our devices. Even on the free distribution of our devices, you can cut a jackpot." "Yes, what are you saying, and in what way?" I asked, not hiding my irony. "I took all our devices in the amount of 80 pieces and cloned them all at one time, then these 160 devices. I cloned one more time and one more time. Then I felt sick and I stopped. In general, we now have 1,280 devices." "Why did you do that? Why did you take such a risk? How are you doing?" "I was really scared for Andre." "Don't worry, I'm fine. It dawned on me last night, and I decided that it's possible to clone not one device at a time, but all at once. I tried it, and everything went like clockwork. Only on the last batch I got a little dizzy." "Why didn't you call me?" "I was in a state of euphoria, and I didn't even think about it. So I will distribute all these devices at the conference. This whole batch will already be with starch in dispensers, and when the starch oxidizes over time and the devices turn into useless junk, then we can get rich on the secret ingredient that activates our devices. I don't think anyone would ever think that these are ordinary potatoes." "Well, how do you like my plan? Honestly, I didn't think that greed could cloud a mind as beautiful as yours. This is not a thirst for profit, but a commercial approach to business. When we are already mega rich, then it will be possible to discover the secret of the secret ingredient. Imagine what kind of faces everyone will have when the secret is revealed. If you're interested in my opinion, then I'm against it. But apparently you're not interested in it, so do whatever you want." "Okay, that's what I wanted to hear from you. Well, then throw away your phone and take this one." "What kind of phone is this?" "This is my cloned one. You will call me from this phone. If we are being followed, the surveillance service will go crazy when they see that I am calling myself and talking to myself." Andre grinned. "It will be fun." He punched me in the shoulder and started walking down the stairs to the exit without turning around. I stood there a little longer, watching him go, and decided it was time to develop a new algorithm of actions. To begin with, it was necessary to rent a new house outside the city, then pack up and thoroughly clean the working computers in the laboratory. The next day I chose 3 options for suitable apartments outside the city and made an advance payment for all 3, promptly packed all my things and got ready to go to the laboratory. But when I opened the front door, I was almost speechless. She was standing on the threshold, Anna Neiman. I've never seen her face so close. I looked at her and couldn't believe my eyes. In front of me stood the most dear person on earth to me. It seemed to me that we had never parted and had always been together, that she had just gone somewhere for 5 minutes and was now back. We stood and looked at each other without taking our eyes off each other. "Well, here I am," Anna said. She walked through the open door and we hugged without saying anything. "Don't say another word. I'm not letting you go anywhere now," I whispered. We stood motionless. I could smell her hair and the pounding of her heart. It seemed that time had stopped and the earth was slipping away from under my feet. "I've become friends with your robot dog," Anna broke the silence. "Wait 1 more minute," I whispered, not believing that this was happening in reality. We stood for a while longer and Anna continued, "Your dog told me everything." "And what did he say?" I said, trying to stay calm. "Much more than you think. The neural network in his head helped me find out about all your research that you are doing in your laboratory. But the most important thing is, I found out who you are and more, I found out about your feelings for me." At these words, Anna looked intently into my eyes. "And you believed him?" Without taking my eyes off Anna, I tried to laugh it off. "Robot dogs don't know how to lie," she whispered, smiling. "I'm glad you believed him," I smiled back. "When I found out who his owner was, I thought it was some kind of prank, because the dog couldn't have guessed that I felt the same way about you." "What do you mean by that?" Trying to keep calm, I squeezed out and felt goosebumps running through my body. "I've been following all your scientific research for a long time and even wanted to go for an interview when you recruited scientists to your team, but for some reason you didn't take girls. I was afraid that experiments could harm the health of researchers and basically did not take expectant mothers into the team. But if I had known that you would be among the applicants, I would have made an exception." Oh, I didn't know how to win the heart of a scientist who is engaged in scientific work all the time. Wait, don't say anything. We need to get away from here. Little by little, I began to pull myself together. No, 5 more minutes. I need to talk myself out. I just thought that you were one of those scientists who don't notice anything except their work in life. So I didn't even try to reach you, but my trip to cyber junk and meeting your dog changed everything. And what about your husband? Which husband? Well, that handsome man in a tailcoat. Anna laughed loudly. It was my friends who started the rumor about my engagement to keep all the annoying suitors away from me. A lot of boyfriends, I said with an offended note in my voice. Anna continued to laugh. Of course, there are a lot of people who want to become related to my father because I am a very enviable bride. Did you fall for this trick? So there was no wedding, I decided to clarify with a timid hope in my voice. Of course not, it's just a fake, Anna said and stopped smiling and looked into my eyes again. I touched her cheek with my palm, ran my fingers along her neck and gently put my arm around her waist. She closed her eyes and snuggled up to me, resting her head on my shoulder. I stood with my eyes closed and didn't dare move. You won't believe it, but I just happened to stay here for a few minutes and I was never going to come back here again. One more moment and we might not meet again. I broke the silence. I would have found you anyway, she whispered back and timidly touched her lips to mine. I will never forget this kiss. A slight tremor ran through my whole body. I closed my eyes. It seemed to me that we were floating above the ground, and a kaleidoscope of colorful fireworks was rushing through my head. We enjoyed this magical state and couldn't tear ourselves away from each other. At some point, we started to lose our balance and opened our eyes together. We looked at each other and realized that our universes had crashed into each other at cosmic speed, and from that moment on, we would have one universe for two. I've never had this before. Anna broke the silence. Me too. What a blessing that you came. I want to show you the place where you and I will live for the next 5 days, I said, and added hesitantly, if of course you don't mind. I don't mind, Anna replied, and I was relieved. Very well, but first we need to go to the laboratory. The lab looked orphaned. Well, this is the alma mater of our invention. Anna began to inspect the laboratory equipment with interest. I really like it, she said, nodding her head in the affirmative. Then she saw the device lying on the table and asked, "Oh, what's that?" "Oh, this is our new invention. Imagine, this little box can clone any object that exists on Earth. Although, to whom am I telling this? If you have become friends with a robot dog, then you should be aware of all our developments, isn't it?" No, please go on. There was genuine interest in her eyes. Wait, I need to clean up something first. I have started all computers to delete data. Anna has been carefully examining our invention all this time. Well, that's it. Now I'm completely at your disposal. Tell me the principle of operation of the device. Anna perked up. It's very simple. Any item that already exists can be cloned. For cloning, you need to add a little organic matter to the dispenser. In our case, it's a piece of raw potatoes, and point the device at the place where you want it to appear. That's all. It takes no more than a minute. So you're saying that this device, a piece of potato, and that's it? Exactly. I think we should buy up all the potatoes in the area, Anna whispered, giving a conspiratorial tone to her voice. Good joke, I chuckled. And how much do you want to sell your device for? It makes no sense to sell, since money as such will lose all value if everyone can clone anything without much cost, although certain costs still cannot be avoided. After each cloning, a person will spend their energy, which will need to be restored. That is, if we clone small objects, then the restoration of energy balance will occur in a short period of time. But when cloning large, voluminous objects, it will take much longer to restore energy. That is, if after cloning the phone it will be possible to recover in 2 minutes, then after cloning the car it will take an hour. Well, after cloning at home, it may take several days. The larger the item, the more energy it takes to create it. It will also be necessary to study the impact of these energy costs on the mental state of a person. I think that after repeated cloning, people will begin to lose the will to create. This is exactly the state Klaus is in right now. I think we will be able to calculate the point of no return, which is dangerous to health, and the devices will warn a person about the danger in each specific case. But for now, our invention will not be available to all people, and as long as there are rich and poor people, human energy will be the most marketable commodity, and slavery will simply reappear. The rich will hire the poor as energy suppliers for their ideas. Therefore, in order to reverse this situation, we decided to distribute several thousand devices for free to all interested completely random people who will come to our presentation. Yes, all this is very interesting, but even for me there is a lot of information for today. I really want to see with my own eyes how you do it. What do you want to clone? Well, for example, this ring with a very rare emerald. Anna took a very beautiful ring from her ring finger and put it on the table. Try it yourself, I suggested, and to support her I came up from behind and put my arm around her waist. Anna pointed the device at the ring, and a minute later there were two completely different rings on the table. There was a silent scene for a few seconds. I stood in confusion, not understanding what had happened, and Anna took the rings in her hands and stared at them in fascination. God, I can't believe it. How can this be? This is a real miracle, Anna broke the silence. I can't believe how this can happen. What do you mean, Boris? The fact that the second ring turned out to be without an emerald, I replied, gradually coming to my senses. I think this can easily be explained by the fact that your device clones only what has already been created by man, and the emerald is a man-made mineral. Everything you say is very correct and logical, but how could we lose sight of it? It's just that you were very fixated on the result and did not pay attention to the small nuances. Wow, small nuances? It turns out that we did not take into account a very important point. And now we will have to make adjustments to our invention, and this will take a long time. But now we can work together, Anna smiled. So we urgently need to discuss something. With these words, I invited Anna to our room with a round table. Oh, it's very cozy here. It won't be a pity to part with such an environment, but anyway, what am I talking about? Because this whole room can be moved to any place you like, am I right? Yes, you're absolutely right. You can scan the whole room and then reproduce it in the right place. But now, about something else. Anna, tell me honestly, did you specifically take a ring with a man-made emerald with you in order to confirm your hypothesis in practice? I think that the affirmative answer suggests itself. You poked us like stupid kittens in a bowl of milk. Boris, don't worry, because it was just my guess, and there is no merit in the fact that it was confirmed. Sooner or later you would have found out about it anyway. In addition, any restrictions easily fit into the exclusion framework. Well, the device can't clone yet, something that wasn't created by man. Well, okay, the key word in this whole story is by. Anna paused and looked at me carefully. I stared at Anna standing next to me, mesmerized, and couldn't believe that this wasn't a dream. You're so sweet. I couldn't resist complimenting her and gently hugged her. Anna put her hands on my shoulders and turned her gaze towards our luxurious sofa. I didn't have to repeat it twice, and I began to frantically unbutton her dress, and she also frantically began to unbutton my shirt. The sofa took us in its arms, and we could not escape from them. We reveled in each other all night, and only in the morning, happy and completely exhausted, were able to fall asleep. We woke up well after noon and, having experienced an animal feeling of hunger, rushed to the refrigerator without a word and began to destroy all the food supplies. With our mouths completely full, we fed each other and had fun like children. We were over the moon with happiness. God, it's so good that you cannot think about anything serious all day, but just relax with your loved one. Chewing a burger, Anna began the conversation. Anna, won't your father put you on the wanted list? I asked, washing down a sandwich with juice. After my mother died and my father had a new passion, I was left on my own. No, of course, my father is interested in my person, but mostly in my account. He regularly replenishes it so that my daughter does not deny herself anything. Well, you've calmed me down a lot. And also, I wanted to ask about my robot, how it feels. He's resting now. I've disconnected him from the power supply. Don't think anything bad about me, but it seems to me that it's very careless to trust artificial intelligence with such discoveries. I guess I became a hostage to the stereotype that a dog is devoted to its owner and will never betray him. Yes, but only until it has another owner. Thanks to your dog, I know much more about your discovery than you can imagine. He leaked to me everything he knew himself, except for activating the device with starch, and then only because he did not own this information. But how did you manage to get all the secrets out of him? I was surprised, not hiding my smile. Personal charm and a few sugar seeds for dinner, Anna joked. Then I understand him, I continued, and looked at Anna with loving eyes. Don't look at me like that, you're confusing me. What are you thinking about? I think that there is no happier person in the world than me, and also that you and I will have only a few carefree days ahead, and then the real trash will begin. What do you mean? Soon there will be a press conference where Andre, along with Klaus, will tell all mankind about our invention, and after that the whole world will go to hell. Do you think it's wise to hold this press conference? I'll tell you honestly that I'm not thrilled with the idea of a press conference, but this is the decision of Klaus and Andre, and my mission is to help them if some kind of force majeure happens. And what kind of help can you give them? I took an old push-button phone out of my backpack. If they are arrested, this thing, we called it the liquidator, will be able to protect them. It is enough to dial a certain code on this phone, as all the devices that we will distribute at the press conference will turn into useless junk. And what will this destruction of the devices do? It's very simple. It will show that Klaus and Andre are just pawns and the main puppeteer is at large. Yes, but then the hunt will start on us. That's exactly why I said that we only have a few carefree days left. Anna smiled sadly and pushing me in the shoulder with her fist continued, That's enough, not another word about anything serious today. After these words, I pulled Anna to me, hugged her, and we spent the rest of the day and all night without leaving the laboratory's conference room. The next morning, Anna took the initiative in her own hands. She flatly refused to go to see the apartments that I rented. She got behind the wheel of my car and drove me out of town. We drove in silence. Anna was thinking intently about something. After a while, she broke the silence. I imagined what a dangerous game you were playing, but now that you've told me everything, I think the safest place where we can live is my secret basement. A secret cellar? I asked, not hiding my surprise. No one knows about this place, not even my father. I created it in secret from everyone. Not a single signal from this basement of the outside world, but we can keep abreast of all events outside the house. I realized that after we met, my life would change dramatically and decided to prepare for this difficult period in order to keep us safe. To be honest, I'm a little surprised. I feel uneasy that in such a bright and sweet little head, there is a place for such a cold calculation. I tried to soften the seriousness of the conversation a little, but Anna didn't fall for my trick. Our lives are at stake. There is no joking here. I want to be happy and prolong this state as long as possible. What's wrong with that? After these words, goosebumps ran through my body. I realized how much Anna had become a dear person to me, and that now nothing could separate us. You're 200% right. I can't wait to get into your secret basement, I said in response. That's fine, but first we need to go to a place. 10 minutes later, we parked in front of the bed store. I looked at Anna questioningly. When she saw my confusion, she shrugged and laughed. I just thought that the bed I chose for our bedroom would not survive our love games. We need to choose something stronger. After these words, I hugged my beloved, and we went into the store together. Without speaking, we stopped by the bed with an open-work wrought-iron headboard, which stood on a podium in the center of the hall. I took out the device and scanned our first joint purchase. Have you decided yet? The consultant who came up to us asked. Yes, we liked this sample, Anna replied. Are we going to place an order? No thanks, we already have the same bed, I replied. You are probably mistaken, this is an author's work and it is made in a single copy. I pressed the activation button of the device and a second, no less exclusive copy appeared next to the exclusive copy of the bed. Anna could barely restrain herself from laughing. Now you are convinced that I am not mistaken, I asked calmly. The stunned consultant approached the new bed and began touching it with his hands, not believing his eyes. Is this some kind of trick or prank? What is it? He asked. Of course this is a prank. Have a nice day. I hope we managed to cheer you up a little. With these words, I took Anna's arm and we went to the exit. Wait, what am I going to do with this bed? The consultant persisted. The same as before. Just sell it, I advised. After these words, the consultant remained standing between two identical beds, alone with his thoughts. It was very funny, Anna said, getting behind the wheel. But still, I feel a little sorry for him. Imagine how many consultants like him will soon be out of work. I didn't say anything because I was haunted by another question. Did this bed remain in the device's memory, or would we have to contact this consultant again? We drove up to a small one-story house. Here we are at home. Anna fluttered out of the car, delighted. The exterior plainness of the house was more than repaid by the interior filling. The basement was a bunker, sunk 3 floors underground. There were comfortable living boxes on the upper floor, ventilation and life support systems on the middle floor, and the entire lower floor was occupied by a laboratory. And you call this a cellar? I said, not hiding my admiration. Yes, such a cellar, Anna smiled. What a smart girl you are. I adore you. You can only dream of such a bunker. Our laboratory is just a kindergarten compared to this one. I'm glad you liked it. We can start our work at any moment without leaving the basement. No, the main task now is to equip our bedroom with a new bed. We went into the bedroom, I disassembled the bed standing there, and with a sinking heart activated the device. A new bed from the salon appeared in place of the previous bed. My fears were in vain. The cloning was successful, and we already decided not to leave the bedroom. According to Anna, we devoted the whole day to love games, and in the evening we dozed off and slept a sweet, serene sleep for several hours. At exactly midnight, we were woken up by a phone call from Andre. He only said 3 words. Tomorrow at 12. Excited by this call, we moved to the spacious kitchen. To relieve the tension, I chose whiskey, and Anna preferred a martini. Until the morning, we fervently discussed all the consequences of the upcoming conference, and closer to 9 o'clock, we collapsed exhausted on our beautiful bed. We overslept and turned on the broadcast when the conference was already in full swing. The same message about the sensational discovery was repeated in the running line. Andre stood in the foreground in front of the audience. He answered questions from a large audience. Klaus was in a wheelchair nearby. The fact that you cloned a wheelchair is more like a trick. What else can you demonstrate besides this? I need any object. Andre looked into the hall, shielding his hand from the spotlights. It can be anything. For example, your tie or phone. I hope he won't give out publicly information about the liquidator, I said aloud, pouring orange juice into a glass. Anna shrugged her shoulders and made a sign to me not to distract her from the broadcast. Meanwhile, Andre continued. Does anyone have anything rare? An antique watch or an ink pen? A man with a notebook in his hand got up from the second row. Come on, this notebook. They haven't released these for 20 years. Andre was handed a notebook. The camera took a close-up of it. The cover was badly worn, and the pages were covered with small handwriting. Andre put it on the table, pointed the device at it, and after a few seconds, took 2 notebooks from the table. He gave the new one to the man and opened the old one closer to the middle. For the sake of purity of the experiment, let's compare it with the original. Open at random, page 31, and read out the top line. My hand slid over her knee. Laughter rang out in the hall. Yes, that's right. You don't have to go on. The happy owner of 2 notebooks excitedly agreed with the results of the experiment. How did it happen that the notebook became as good as new? There was a question from the front rows. Our device searches for the necessary quarks that have already been used to create this object and combines them once again. The memory of space does everything else by itself, even better than it was. The experience of all mankind, everything that was created once, does not disappear without a trace and continues to exist in space. It remains only to get it out of this space. Tell me, is it possible to get an initial copy of the notebook without any notes? I think so, but so far the device clones exactly the latest version of the item with all the changes. Tell me, did I understand correctly that if you clone a house, then everything in the new house will be the same as in the original version? Yes, the house will be identical to the house that the device scans, with all the stuffing that was in this house at the time of scanning. Everything that is in this house and the house itself has already been invented and implemented by someone, starting from the foundation and ending with the interior. Every cog and piece of furniture, every movement of the bricklayer and the molar was meaningful and did not disappear anywhere. Everything remains in space, and we use this accumulated experience once again. We kind of revive the dormant impulse and collect all the previously involved connections. After the device has reproduced the material object, all connections again crumble and return to the boundless space of knowledge. You said that it is possible to recreate only what has already been created once, but can something new be done with your device? No, you need to do everything new yourself. We can only recreate what there is information about in space, even what was done before and has long disappeared from the face of the Earth. Every person's brain is a universal generator of ideas. All new thoughts or semantic combinations can be said to be transformed into electromagnetic impulses with the help of neurons in the brain and transmitted into space, remaining there forever. Billions of people generate and leave an infinite amount of information in space every second. Primitive people relied only on their imagination. They had no opportunity to stumble upon any useful information. The ether of knowledge was empty as a white sheet. But gradually the situation changed. With each new experience and each new thought, the ether was replenished and the first discoveries began to appear. Any next generation made new discoveries based on all the previous experience and knowledge of their ancestors. You think that all inventors are exceptional and very smart, not even suspecting that all of humanity has been working on their inventions. In the future, we plan that the device will be able to search for a match based on your thoughts. Even if you make mistakes in the details, the device will find the right combination of elements in the information space. If there was no such object before, and you just came up with it, then the device simply will not start generating. I listened to what he was saying and realized that Andre was carried away and he couldn't stop. I was wondering if he was really conducting experiments on cloning non-existent objects, or is he making things up on the go? Yes, and Andre didn't waste his time. Anna couldn't resist commenting. Meanwhile, the hall continued to besiege Andre. Tell me, if you modify the device, will it be able to clone anything? There is no limit to perfection, as our poor Klaus says. Klaus raised a thin hand up, and the attention of the audience turned to him. I was the first person on Earth who successfully cloned inanimate matter. Camera flashes lit up the hall. When cloning at home, I overestimated my capabilities, my body could not withstand the load, and I still have not recovered. It's hard for me to say, but I have to say that I want to dedicate this discovery to my beloved mother, Klaus said with an effort, and turned his gaze to Andre. Andre continued, now we can say for sure that it takes a few minutes to fully restore the body after cloning small objects, and it may take several days to recover from cloning at home. Having said these words, he looked at Klaus. If we find an unlimited source of energy, we can clone absolutely everything. It's more like fiction, but it's a prospect for the coming years. Tell me, will it be possible to clone the Earth? Do you mean the globe? Yes, the globe. Is it possible? Hypothetically, yes. I said that the main problem is energy. It will be necessary to modify the device very abruptly and go to a completely different level. First, to change the principle of operation of the device. That is, to teach it to create something that was created without human intervention. Secondly, the power of the device should be comparable to the power of a thermonuclear reactor. And thirdly, it will be necessary to scan the Earth from space and choose a new place for it in orbit. You promised to distribute the devices to everyone, is that true? It's true. Invitations were sent to all of you where the discovery was announced, which will make everyone present at today's presentation the richest people on the planet, Andre reassured everyone. A wave of excitement immediately ran through the hall. In order to avoid crowding and hype, stay in your seats now. Each of you will be given a device completely free of charge. The image hovered. A splash screen with an announcement appeared. How did you like the presentation? I asked Anna. I can only say that now your friends will definitely not be left alone. If they are not isolated, the value of power and business will simply reset to zero, and people will no longer have any need to obey them. I dialed Andre's number, but in vain, the caller was unavailable. Then I got a message: "Don't call me until I get in touch myself."